All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to what we're calling the Recruiting 911 podcast. I'm the pet man, Matt Morrow. The biggest reason why we're doing this tonight is there's a lot of things going on with high school recruiting. And if you're watching this, you're probably aware of the struggles that are going on for high school players, not only here in the Charlotte area, but across the nation. To be honest with you, so we wanted to do this to just specifically talk about recruiting high school kids, and some of the things that our high school kids can do to get noticed by college coaches. Just kind of talk about the landscape and why things are the way they are. But before we get into it and bring on our guests, I do have um, two of our regular, I guess I would say, guests to the CFI family. One has been here, all season long. That is Coach Dub Robert Washington.
What's going on, Pep?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
Good, good. All right. Also, we're gonna bring on a familiar face who is back to working with us after the season. That is the engine and the professor, Kenneth McClamrock, head coach at Rocky River High School.
What's up, man? How are y'all?
Good, man. Good. It was good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, man. I've been missing you guys.
We've missed you too. It ain't been the same.
We got the band back together.
Got the band back together. If only we had OP on here, we'd be ready to go.
Well, what a great segue, because now we're also going to bring on the defensive backs coach at Livingstone College and tonight's recruiting expert on the college level, Otis Powell. Coach Powell.
Hey, everybody. How everybody doing tonight?
Yes, sir.
Man, what's going on? Oh,
Ain't that Washington? How you doing, man? I need you to send me some guys on
Hold
Twitter,
on,
man.
I got some guys for you.
I got some for you.
Hey, McClamrock, I already got one of your 6'3", 6'4" tackles. He came to the John C. Smith game, him and his mom. Not only have you talked to me about him, but one of the guys that trained him has hit me up and about this guy, say he's a hidden gem, but it's just coaches in the area having great relationships with you guys make my job a whole lot easier.
All right, there it is, man. Well said. All right, well, let's get started. We got a lot of questions here to kind of start out, and then we'll kind of branch off from that. But first of all, OP, we're gonna lean on you, and then I'll bring the guys in here momentarily. But first of all, OP, I got to ask you. We're getting ready to have a showcase here, our winter showcase on December 7th. You as a coach, you guys will be there. But what do you guys look for in a player at these kind of camps and showcases?
Basically what I'm looking for is a guy that can move, that's real competitive, pay attention to details, and they can really take coaching. Because they're gonna be with position coaches or different coaches that they haven't been with before. And so the terminology for drills are gonna be different. The way drills are explained or done are gonna be different for what they've been doing for the last 3 or 4 years at their high school. So I'm looking at footwork, I'm looking at body language. I'm just looking at how they interact with other players and coaches during that time frame at these showcases.
Well said, man. We're gonna cut that up, and we're gonna make sure we send that to all of our players that are coming. And now, if you haven't registered for the Winter Showcase, you're missing a great opportunity, man. Make sure you get on there, charlottefootballinsiders.com. Check that out. Seniors, juniors, and now sophomores will be allowed to attend. But OP, I also got another one for you, man. In-state recruiting for Livingstone. How do you guys prioritize that?
In-state recruiting is a big thing for us. Because our school, our admission process is totally different than anybody else's. So we rely heavy on in-state guys. So I rely heavy on my circle of coaches in high school to really help me with recruiting. So trusting coaches like DJ McFadden, Coach Sean Baker, Coach Coach Joe Evans at South Meck, and turn around and you deal with some different coaches. The head coach at Cox Mills, So I'm dealing with a lot of those guys that I've coached with before, been on sidelines arguing and fussing with. When I was at West Charlotte, Philip O'Berry, Olympic, using those relationships of being with those guys to really lean on them and what they believe is a good football player.
All right, excellent. Thank you, Coach. All right, we're gonna bring Kenneth back. He's got a question for you, Coach.
Now, Coach, I've been out of the game for a couple of years and back at it now at Rocky River. And one thing that I'm starting to sense is that, of course, everybody knows about the transfer portal, but it also seems like college coaches are looking for higher GPAs than in the past. Are you guys seeing that? Is it that there's so much talent in the transfer portal pool that you guys can be a little bit more picky, like maybe some schools where 2.4s or 2.5s would have been okay? Now I'm having coaches say, I need 2.7s and 2.8s to get those kids in.
Well, just with the admission process, a lot of schools have different admission requirements. And scholarships may start at some schools at 2.4 to 2.8, 3.0 to 3.5, or 3.5 and to 3.75. So the admissions part of school can give a lot of merit scholarships that can help us offset on the football end, so we can save on a kid on the back end that got, at Livingstone that has a 3.75. He can come in and be a presidential scholar, and as long as he maintained that 3.75 at Livingstone his whole 4 years, his schooling is going to be paid for. So you have to look at those kids like that for us. But a kid that got a 2.4, a 2.3 is like, are you really about the classroom, or are you about football? Is that a kid I'm gonna have to worry about getting up, going to class at 8 o'clock in the morning, after you had a 5 a.m. football practice at Livingstone doing homecoming week? Are you the kid that I'm gonna have to worry about at 2:30 that needs to be in the training room or the weight room? That 2.4 starts saying to me, like, are you really responsible and being on top of your schoolwork? Because it all relates. So I think that's why a lot of us are looking at guys with higher GPAs to really help us stretch out that budget of money that we got.
No doubt. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Thank you, Kenneth. Appreciate it, man. All right, we're going to bring back Robert. He's got a question for you as well, Coach.
How do y'all, what percentage of high school seniors, and I took my earbuds out. What percentage of high school seniors versus transfer athletes do y'all recruit?
I want to say like 50-50. So last year, our goal was to try to get a good 25 high school freshmen in, and try to get a good 15 to 20 transfer guys in, whether that was them coming in January or them coming in August. So you can get some of those grad transfers, you can get some of those JUCO guys, or you can get transfer portal guys that's at South Carolina State for a year, and maybe they're just looking for a shot to get some more film, to get some more exposure, and we can pick them up at a Livingstone or Winston-Salem State, a Fayetteville State, or Shaw University, and help us out a little bit more for just that one semester. So it just all depends on the program. But a lot of coaches I talk to, it's about a 50-50. We want older guys to help us out, and we're looking for those younger guys that we can develop.
Okay. Now, if what can high school seniors, because they're going against guys that's much older than them, and it's really hard to compare a high school senior that might not be developed, on and off the field, might not know what the rigor of a college football schedule looks like. Going into the transfer portal, these guys already know what to expect, right? So what can high school seniors be doing to prepare to be ready for that opportunity if it's presented?
I really think these guys, a lot of these guys do a good job of getting with a personal trainer, a position specific coach to work on, O-line or D-line or linebacker specific stuff within the city of Charlotte or surrounding. But I think the thing that they need to really think about is getting on that college campus, during that time frame or whatever school they're gonna go to see what spring ball is like, to see what practice is like, so they know how they may need to change their workout plan. Um, and I think the biggest thing is a lot of these guys need to wake up. You know, um, Coach Matt Rule said it yesterday on Sports Center and ESPN. Like, Division One schools are dropping down, to having a roster of 105. So you're looking at a school like Nebraska, NC State, UNC Charlotte, that's going to have 85 kids that are on scholarship, and then you're going to look at about 20 preferred walk-on guys. So it's going to be a lot of guys that could have took a preferred walk-on that's now going to take that G5 or go to a Division II school that they had a scholarship offer to. They're going to take that, and so space is going to get limited, and roster spots are going to get limited. So guys gotta they better wake up and get in that classroom. That's what I can tell them.
Absolutely. I got another question, Coach. So how early do y'all start monitoring or recruiting student athletes? I know it works different on the HBCU level. It works a lot different. So how early do you start saying, maybe I need to keep an eye on this kid? I might not necessarily need to contact this coach, but I'm having eyes on him.
I'm saying earlier is like this showcase camp here in December. I'm gonna keep my eyes on a lot of those guys that may be juniors. Like, they're gonna be on my radar. I'm gonna follow them and see what's going on Twitter. I'm gonna make those contacts to guys that I really trust in the Gastonia area, the Charlotte area, the Union County area, Greensboro area. I'm gonna contact those coaches and see, like, hey, how's he doing? And just following up with them on Twitter when they post and they follow you and they hit you up and send you their film. The guys think we're not watching them, but I'm watching them. I may not respond because I'm locked in on the season for that 11 weeks, but I watched that film. I may not respond, but I kind of zone out on Twitter and my Instagram during football season. But I'm watching. I'm really watching.
Also, I'm a graduate of Fayetteville State HBCU alum myself. What's the advantages of an HBCU student athlete experience? Because I know it's a bunch of experiences, positive experiences.
Well, I'm different. I went to Western Carolina, which was a PWI. But I think that, the camaraderie that you have at a HBCU, homecoming is a big thing. At all HBCUs is what they live for, and it's what you die for in the community. And you got those rivalry games that are near and dear. It don't matter what your record is. It don't matter what happened the first 8 games of the season, the first 9 games. That rivalry game can make or break you for 365. But I think it's the family atmosphere. Some of us have coached in high school at, I would say, almost like a small HBCU, so you get that vibe of fried chicken and fish in the parking lot. You're gonna have that atmosphere at a home game, and the bands is different, the cheerleading is different, but the atmosphere is always gonna be love, and it's gonna be tough love too. They're gonna love you when you're winning, they're gonna hate you when you're losing, but they're looking forward to homecoming, and they're looking forward to that rivalry game win.
All right, I got one last question. The transition from high school coaching to college coaching. What advantages does that give you? Because it's different, because some college coaches, if you haven't coached high school, you don't understand. But what's the advantages of that?
I for a lot of us, my advantage is I'm strictly football. I'm locked into football, 10, 12, 14 hours a day. I'm watching film. I'm talking to my guys whenever I can. It's kind of different. We got 20 hours a week of football that you can do. And that's including meetings and practice. But a lot of that time, you're an open book to your kids, whether it's on Zoom, a phone call, or FaceTime. If they want to contact you and talk about football, we can talk about football all day long. I ain't got to grade no tests. I ain't got to run behind kids in the classroom. I ain't got to check with a counselor to see if he got a 2.0. You know what you got to do. You got to get those 24 hours a year. You got to maintain a 2.0 GPA. But for the most part, you know what you got to do academically to keep your scholarship and to keep that money coming in. So those things we don't have to worry about as much. But it's football all day long.
Appreciate that. Hope.
Thank you, Coach Dub. Appreciate it, man. All right. Coach Seidel from Jam Robinson is bringing up a good point that we're going to actually ask you next, OP, on the potential ramifications for these smaller schools with the roster limit now going down to 105 players, man. What does that do for you guys, and how does it affect, your recruiting overall?
It's not going to affect recruiting. I think that guys that could have been a preferred walk-on at a Carolina or NC State, a Duke, they had any offers at a Western Carolina, Appalachian State, a Elon, a A&T, or North Carolina Central. They're probably going to take that scholarship before taking that walk-on because that's money in hand. And it's going to be the same for us at Livingstone. Guys are going to key in on taking that money and not taking that preferred walk-on at an A&T or a Central or a South Carolina State. They're going to come to Livingstone because they got money in hand. But I think it's going to benefit everybody. And I also think it's going to hurt some kids and it's going to hurt some schools. But that's just the name of the game we in. And we're gonna see how it affects everybody. But you just gotta roll with the dice when they dealt. You just gotta play their hand.
All right, thank you, Coach. We'll take one from the viewers here. So Boom Gordon is asking, how do you assess a player's ability to fit into your team's culture and style of play?
I know who that is. So I mean, you got to know who you're dealing with, and you got to know that coach's personality. I can be a rah guy. I can be a guy that carries his emotion on his shoulders at all times, and I've gotten a little bit better, but I ain't got that much good at it. I'm still an emotional guy. I still coach with a lot of passion because I love what I do, but I love my guys that I'm with in my room. And so I want to win, and I want them to win and be successful, and I want them to get everything. So I just think you got to really look at what that individual coach or coaching staff brings to the table. And I think everybody wants to win. It's just, a lot of guys do it different, but I can only speak for me.
All right. Well said, Coach. Coach, I appreciate you taking some time out, man, and stopping in at a local establishment to do this with us. As you said, it's the life of a coach, and we really appreciate it, brother.
Well, like I said, man, I really want these guys that's coming to your camp, encourage them, those seniors, to bring their college transcripts as well.
Okay.
Because your grades is the biggest thing for us, and that's a starting point. We know they can play football. I mean, they've been playing since they were 6 years old, but the biggest thing to get it going, and a lot of these coaches in high school push these guys during free application week to start applying for schools. Stop waiting on college coaches to come in to your building to offer you a scholarship. Go ahead and start getting stuff rolling. In the next 5 days, financial aid is getting ready to come into play. These kids need to go ahead and start applying for this financial aid. Don't be waiting on a college coach to come in here and offer you whether it's $10,000 or a full ride. Go ahead and start preparing yourself for the next level of life because, football is not promised. And everybody that's played at a high level, at some point you got to hang these cleats up. And at some point you're going to grab a whistle. And at some point you're going to go out and be a dad and be a father. So we need to start preparing these guys for the next stage of life. And, football is not promised.
It's well said right there, Coach. If you guys are just now joining us, this is Otis Powell, the defensive backs coach at Livingstone, joining us here on the Recruiting 911 podcast. Coach, I appreciate the time, man. And we'll see you. We'll see you in about a week.
Yeah, I'll see you in about a week. We'll be ready to rock and roll. Me and a couple of our colleagues will be out there. And I know the Livingstone staff will be out there ready to rock and roll with Pat Mann at his showcase. Yes,
sir. Appreciate it, man.
No problem. Appreciate you.
All right. All right. Once again, that was Otis Powell, defensive backs coach at Livingstone. They're going to come strong to the Winter Showcase on December 7th. So if you haven't signed up yet, make sure you sign up, because not only will they be there, but 10 other schools will be there that have confirmed. And we are working hard to get other ones as their seasons have started to end to join those 11 schools that will be there. All right. I'm going to bring back Coach McClamrock and Coach Washington. And we're going to get into some talk here. So please, if you're watching, please post your questions, your comments, your feedback. And we're going to kind of make this kind of open. But first, I want to ask both of you guys, obviously you're both head coaches. What are the challenges you guys are having with trying to get your seniors recruited right now?
You want to take it first, Coach? You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead and go first, Kenny.
Well, I feel like, it's a little bit different for me because I was out of coaching for a couple of years. So, some numbers have changed, some coaches have changed, but of course the whole dynamic of the recruiting world has changed. The transfer portal has just completely turned it into the wild, wild west. I mean, if you check college coaches' Twitter feeds for the last 2 weeks, all they're talking about is mid-year guys, transfer portal guys. If you look on, the suggested tweets or whatever they're called, all you're seeing is guys who are entering the portal this week. So it's completely changed. There have become different seasons of college coaching, right? There is the season for those mid-year guys. There's the season for the grad transfer guys. There's the season for the transfer portal guys. And then somewhere down towards the bottom, it seems like right now there's a season for high school players. I had a dad reach out to me ironically today. As I don't coach his son. I know his son. I've worked with his son. I've seen his son play. And he said, Coach, man, it's hard not to be frustrated right now because this kid is putting up dynamic numbers. He's a dynamic athlete. He's an explosive player. He's as good as anybody around, but he just isn't getting the college looks anymore. And I just have to keep reminding him, there's an inch or two difference, and it might be a different story. There's a this or that difference. 5-6 years ago, this kid is probably an FCS type player, but keep working hard, keep doing the things that you can control, your work ethic, your determination, your showing up, your positive attitudes, putting in the work. He's still planning to play also. He can still put his film together. But it's a lot different, Pat, man. It's a different world now than it was when I got out just 4 years ago.
It's crazy, man. Coach Dub, what you got, man?
I mean, the transfer portal has really, really hurt high school athletics, period. But in football, unless you're like a 4 or 5 star or you're a kid that got freakish size, freakish abilities, it's really hard to get recruited to bigger schools. So if, back in the day, if you got a kid that might be borderline, maybe a tweener or something like that, you'll get coaches that might take a gamble on that particular player. They might even say, you know what, coach, I'm gonna give him I'm gonna give him a shot. It's no more of that. Now it's almost like the smaller schools, your Division IIIs, your Division IIs, are more like JUCOs now, in the sense of kids having to go there, prove themselves, and then transfer up or stay put, right? But it shaped the whole landscape of high school football. And I'm not sure if a lot of players and parents understand that. Like, maybe they might think, well, I might have to go to a bigger school. That's not always the answer, because at the end of the day, if they're not recruiting, you're going up against a kid. For example, if you're at a P4 school, and am I going to recruit the backup at Clemson or Virginia Tech or Alabama, or I'm going to go after the 4A kid in North Carolina? They're not going after the 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A kids. They're going to go after that backup at Virginia Tech or Clemson. Why? Because those kids are already acclimated to what college life looks like. They know that these kids already know what a 5 a.m. lift looks like. They already know about, having to fit your classes in with your football schedule. So it doesn't really matter where you play at. It's, just make the best of what you got.
Absolutely, Coach. We got some good comments coming in. This is from a player, Tristan Clapp. He's asking, what makes the difference between a good and great player at the next level? What do you guys think about that?
First, being coachable. Being coachable. I mean, in this day and age with high school football, everyone but the high school staff knows what they're talking about, right? It's the reality of it. You got so many middlemen, you got so many former youth coaches, trainers, so-called experts that know more of what you need to be doing than the actual high school coach. I would say it starts with the high school player and family, because it ain't always them contacting the players. It's also being a mom ear, being a dad, or being an uncle ear. Stop listening to people that don't directly coach you, because you have to understand coaches are coming to the high school coaches for feedback. And if we're doing certain things and you're not doing it because your trainer says that's not what's best for you, they're not going to your trainer for evaluations in most cases. They're coming to your high school coaches. So take out the middleman, just start, kind of build that relationship with your high school teammates. And it's almost like, what is it, like the LeBron going to the Heat mentality? Everybody feel like it's an AAU mentality. Everyone feels like they have to team up and come together and form these power teams because they've been taught through youth football to go to the best youth football program, and they've been doing a lot of front running. They do a lot of front running, and they think they got to do that in middle school and high school. And they'd rather be on a team that's winning than a team that you have to go through adversity to build up to that point. So it's no more kids aren't facing adversity anymore. So by the time they get to college and it gets tough, they quit. Some of them quit in high school because they can't front run no more. They was on that youth team that won all those games and they played with all their friends. That ain't what football looks like. Every now and again, you might be on a team that, you know what, you might have to make a play for us to win. You can't front run. I can't be that DB sitting back looking pretty in coverage because I got one of the best pass rushers. I have to really be able to play football. So I would tell, the first thing is listening to your high school staff, developing with your high school teammates. That's what it's all about, because coaches also coach that too, or they evaluate that. How good of a teammate is this kid? Right? If you're a bad teammate in high school, you're going to be a bad teammate in college. If your parents are setting a bad tone by talking junk about the coaches, yelling in the stands, you're going to do that in college. I've had kids, and I've told this before, I had a kid lose a $78,000 scholarship a year because the coach went to our game in street clothes, and this was years ago. But the coach went there in street clothes, and he just watched the parents. The parents was yelling about, hey, we should be running this. It was something small. But he told me, he said, if he does you like that, they'll do us like that. And these are the problems that we have. So the first thing to do, just start with just buying into your team, no matter what that looks like, no matter if you're playing 4A ball, 1A ball, commit to your situation. Too many of these kids are not committing to their situation, and parents aren't committing to their situation, and they're looking for the next thing out. They're on the first thing smoking. Oh, my friends go to this school, I need to go over here. If you're looking at the next situation, you can't focus on your opportunity. Because guess what? Regardless if you transfer or not, if you got a college coach that's offering a lot of money, and I'm talking about P4, Division I, they're going to come back to those schools that you transferred from.
Absolutely. Kenneth, you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I know Tristan. I got the coach's brother. He's got one of them awesome moms, Coach Washington. His mom is incredible. But this is what I say, Tristan. This is what I tell my kids: is start with where you are. Your question is talking about at the next level, which is in the future, but start with where you are and ask yourself questions like this: are you the hardest working player at your high school right now? Are you someone who does more above and beyond? And I'll use the whiteboard because I put my workouts on the whiteboard. Are you doing what's just on the whiteboard, or are you doing extra sets, extra reps? Because the freshman girl in class is also doing what's on the board. But what's setting the senior football player, the senior or the junior football player who wants to play collegiately, what are you doing differently to set yourself apart? Another question, I tell my guys right now, as I met with my seniors over the last couple of weeks, is, hey, as college coaches start to come in, we want to look the part. When they walk in, I want them to walk up and be like, God, dog, Coach McClamrock, who is that joker right there? That's a good-looking youngin right there. He's got broad shoulders. He's got a big chest, his arms, his legs. Look the part. You look the part by putting that extra work. What are you doing outside of school? Are you doing stuff on your own? Are you encouraging guys to come out with you? If I'm a defensive player, am I getting wide receivers to come out to run routes with me, against me? What do your grades look like? Are you putting the work? Coach Powell said a minute ago, there's a difference between a 2.4 GPA and a 3.75, where your scholarship is paid in full at Livingstone College, because you have a 3.75 high school GPA. And Tristan, I know your GPA is through the roof. I know that already. But what are you doing to set yourself apart? Because if you're waiting until you get to the next level, those college coaches are going to look past you. They're going to move on, because like we've been talking about, they've got college guys in the portal, those bounce back guys that are coming from Clemson, that are going to North Carolina Central, and those North Carolina Central guys that are bouncing back to Wingate. They've got those guys that are coming down the pipeline, because that 105 Coach Seidel just asked about, those extra guys are being pushed down to the FCS. They're being pushed down to the Division II, that now mean that Division II type high school players 5 years ago don't have that opportunity anymore. So don't wait. Don't wait to the next level. Be great now. Be the hardest working player on your team right now. Be the most committed player on your team right now. Coach Dub talked about, I've had very few of my players get college scholarship offers over the years where the college coach did not ask me, Coach McClamrock, what are their parents like?
Mm.
Because if their parents are off the chain, we might not want them with all of our off the chain parents we got right now. And there have been times where I've had to say, you know what, man, I'm not going to lie, Dad's a little bit crazy. But there have been more times, fortunately for me, where I've been able to say, man, they've got incredible parents. Dad is a teacher. Mom works in insurance. Mom owns her own cleaning business, whatever that looks like, where I've been able to speak so highly and positive of the parents that speaks to what they believe that young man is going to turn into whenever he gets away from mom and dad, because that's what he knows.
Mm-hmm.
And we always revert back to what we know, right, and where we came from. But be that dude right now, and don't wait to be that dude when you get to college, because unfortunately you might miss that opportunity.
Yeah. So Coach Powell still watching, and to answer your question, Tristan, he said being coachable. He said that's the difference. And he also agreed what you said, Coach Dub, about kids jumping teams because they're not working or they're not playing. And he also says that you learn a lot about a player when things are not going their way. Coach Dub, you have something you want to add?
I just also want to add, any player that I've coached in the last 18 years that really got advantage to got to the next level, is the kids that got better outside of practice as well. And what I mean is, if you're coming to high school practice and you just say, well, it's up to my high school coaches to get me better, which it is. It's our job to get you ready, but it's also our job to prepare you for what we need you to do for the team, right? Whatever you need to do for the team. And it might look a little different, but all the great players I've ever coached, they work out before practice. They work out after practice. They work out on the weekends. So our work is, they do the in addition to work. So if you want to get to the next level, do the in addition work. Do the stuff that your coaches don't have to tell you to do. I know Kenny will speak on it. Pep, you coach. It's the players that I use, the ones that you don't have to hold their hand to do work. Mm-hmm. They're doing the work anyway, and those are the ones that stand out. And so if you want to be great, in addition to work.
All right, very good, man. Great stuff right there. Coach Seidel also with a big one right here. We're talking about the transfer portal right here. Less college coaches coming into the school. Do y'all agree with what Coach Seidel is saying here?
Yep.
You don't find that out. I remember being in Central Comparison, having 152 coaches come through in a recruit season, from 70 something schools, and I'm back filling it for the first time in the springtime. And how many coaches we had come by, how many schools we've had come by already. over the past week, but it's not like that. It's not 5 or 6 schools a day. That's for sure. Like what I've seen in the past. No, for sure.
Coach Doug saying?
Yeah, same thing. You get a lot of D3, D2 schools that come by, but if you don't really got a relationship with some of these guys, prior relationships, every now and again they'll stop by to show love, just to support you or to see what you got. The real good ones will stop by, Kenny. Like Coach Brew, he's gonna be by. It don't matter. He's beating the bushes. He's gonna stop by. But it has been a decline in that. So
tell me this, Coach Washington. We've had a couple schools stop by in the past week, right? And typically this time of year, especially your D2s, they're coming by and they're gathering information, right? Like, Coach, who do you have? Talk to me about them. Let me know a little bit about each kid, and then let me meet them. But what I've experienced now with the schools that have already stopped by is they already have an idea of who they want to see. They're not necessarily interested in, Coach, who are some of those fringe outlier kids? Hey, these are the guys that I've looked at film on. These are the guys that I want to see today. And I don't really care about other guys. Are you seeing more of that now than you used to? I mean, you see that with the big time, like Clemson. You weren't going to bring in the 5'3", 125-pound right guard in to see Clemson. But I'm seeing that now with other schools already.
Yeah, I've been seeing that with smaller schools. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, you didn't ask about this player or that player. And the one thing, too, you don't want to burn any bridges, because if you start throwing kids at them, they're not stopping back by. They might, because now, I mean, guys can recruit on the internet. They can look at your roster through Huddle. They can look at the film. They can already do their eval. And at that point, they're just stopping by to meet the kid and make sure that kid is even the right height or size, or, look at the kid and fill them out. So they might not want to see the other kids. And sometimes I catch myself in a tough place, because I'll give them my prospect list. And also one thing I do, Kenny, is I'll just ask them what they're looking for. So if they're come out and say, hey, I want to see these 2 guys, and I'll ask them what they're looking for, and they'll let me know what they're looking for. And if it's the players that they ask for, okay, fine. I know they're not looking for the guard, the guard. So I'm not going to send them the guard. So, or even bring it up to them. But if they start saying positions that I know I have, they're seniors, then I say, hey, Coach, you might want to take a look at these guys since you have need. And they even eval them, or in many cases, Kenny, they haven't even looked at them. It might be a kid that's just doing extra work on social media, because you got some of these kids that do a phenomenal job of marketing themselves. And I meant to tell that kid that market yourself. Don't just rely on your coach to market you. Hit these coaches up in the DM. It's enough information out here, social media wise, about you shouldn't be slept on. But maybe one kid did a better job of marketing themselves than another kid. So 9 times out of 10, I get that coach that says, hey, Coach, we'll take a look at them. And that leads to other opportunities.
Sorry, guys. I'm trying to convince someone else to join us. He knows who I'm talking to. But anyway, Shannon Stowe with a comment right here. Very, very discouraging for high school players, transfer portal. Just to piggyback on what, Coach was saying there. I mean, Ken, if we're going through it with the showcase, I mean, this time last year, we were getting ready to have the winter showcase at Palisades, and we had over 30 schools.
30
Easily.
schools. We were sold out at multiple positions.
Yeah.
But we had colleges begging us. How many coaches can we bring?
Ouch. It's crazy. And I mean, I think honestly, and I'll share this, our numbers for the showcase are down. And I think they're down because, I think both players and parents are discouraged, with what we're seeing from college coaches. And it's really, it's sad, it's disappointing, it's frustrating. But I think this is the new reality, sadly. Like you were saying, Coach Doug, kids are going to have to go to lower schools, lower level schools, and then, prove themselves and then transfer up if they want to go there. One of the things I talk about when I talk to the kids at the showcase is now the path is not a straight line. Your path is just going to be all over the place if you want to go to that highest level. because unless you're the top 3%, you know, and you're probably not watching this if you're the top 3%, you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to take a winding road to get there. And it's just something that we have to educate people on. I think this is something we're gonna have to do on a more regular basis. It's just to get that knowledge, you know, out there that we get from guys like Coach Powell and some other college coaches that we know out here. One thing I want to bring up, and it was something that came up on social media today, and both myself and Coach Dub were a part of the conversation, is, you know, go ahead, Coach.
I want to add something to what you previously said.
Well, actually, hold on one second, because I'm gonna bring on Coach Seidel from J.M. Robinson, who is wanting to add to this conversation. I think he's a great resource. Coach,
what's up?
We're glad to add you in here, man.
It's an honor, man. I just love your topic, man. It's just such a hot topic. I just
Absolutely
love what you're saying, man. I was sitting there trying to type and text. I was like, man, can I just?
Yeah, it's much easier just to have you on here. So
appreciate it.
But Coach, let's let you kind of expand on what you were saying there about the portal kids and you seeing less college coaches in the building, because you got some really good players, you know, that are college level players, and you're still seeing a decrease, you know, in you know, people visiting you guys.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I'll be honest, and you guys already said it. Unless you got just an absolute dude, you're not seeing the D1s as much anymore. Unless you got a relationship. You know, and like I said, Coach Brew, there's some coaches that are always going to come around. But you feel for these kids that are those tweener kids, and like McClamrack said, like 5-6 years ago, they would have been FCS kids, and now they're coming to you like, hey, Coach, you know, what do you think? I'm going up here, but I'm not getting an offer, and everybody so far said the same thing. Your grades now are setting you apart, and they always have. They've always set you apart. Now it's can you get that GPA high enough where if you get a PWO, you're piecing together money somehow and trying to get zeroed out at the end, and it's tough, man. Because some teams we played against got some amazing kids, and they got no offers, and it is what it is. So you just tell them to keep grinding, doing everything the right way. But it's tough, man. It's really hard, and I don't really have an answer, especially when those parents are asking, you know, what else can we do? And there's nothing else you can do except, you know, take care of, you know, your team, do everything the right way, you know, bust your butt, grades, character. And in the end, let the chips fall as they may.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, everyone here has heard a story or two from kids, you know, just frustrated, asking, you know, like, and I'll give you an example just from my perspective, because I know you guys are head coaches, but you know, when I'm writing about kids and when I'm promoting them, you know, the kids will send DMs asking me to retweet this, retweet that, and I'm asking them, I ask them, I say, well, what do you want to get out of this? You know, do you think, you know, me retweeting your highlights is really going to do something? Because it's got to be more. You know, what is your goal? Like, where do you want to go? And you know, some kids, you know, like you said, Coach. Some kids just want anything, you know, just to kind of get on the board, man. But there's still the perception of some kids that, you know, are seniors and they don't have any offers. They think they can go D1 somewhere, and that's not real. It's not real. It's not happening for you, man. And it's a tough conversation, but I know it's a real conversation that you guys have on a regular basis. And you know, I try to tell them in DM as well, man. But let me get back to what I was about to talk about. We had a conversation today on social media, and a college coach apparently told a top parent of a high-level player that sometimes, you know, if there's a kid that's talented at a smaller school, they want to evaluate him against the best, and his production against smaller schools is not impressive enough to garner real consideration. I'll let Coach Dub go first on this because I know he's passionate about it. Coach, is that something that you really believe, is that small school kids need to transfer up to a bigger program that plays perceived higher level talent to get noticed?
No, because if that's the case, why have college evaluation camps? Why have them come over in the summer and work out for you live? I just think that was a comment based off, and I respect the guy that posted the comment. We had some good dialogue, but what that experience is doesn't hold true for everyone. And sometimes when you're giving advice, obviously we're giving advice from our experience. But if you only got half the information, that statement, it becomes muddy, and it gets kids that might not be on that level to think that they have to do that. As a head coach, as a person that's been doing this for a long time, Coach Seidel can say the same thing, and Kenny can. We see the whole picture. I've had no-star kids. I've had 5-star kids. And again, what's true for the 5-star might not be true for the no-star. Or every no-star kid or 2-star or 3-star kid, just because you're a 2-star, 3-star don't mean you're equal. There might be different dynamics that's happening. So to make a broad statement like you have to transfer up, that's setting kids up for failure. Because what we do see in most cases, if you're good, you can play anywhere. When those kids transfer, we know their names, right? We be like, okay, well, this kid left here to go there, and they was already good. They really didn't even need to transfer. But and they was already getting the recruitment and whatnot. Very, very rarely do you see a kid go from one situation to another situation, and it's just this big impact on their recruiting. Because sometimes I would say maybe 5% of the transfers work out. But what about the kids that we don't hear about? The ones parents that's not on social media that left this school to go to that school and it didn't work out for them. It's more of those situations out there than the actual ones that work out that we see. Now, we see the ones that work out, but we would have seen it anyway because the kid was a big-time player. So what the poster post, he was speaking from his experience, but his experience was with dogs, of kids that can play, that really could have played anywhere. But what about that kid that you're advising? Because what's happening is you're getting a lot of youth coaches that's telling their kids, okay, go here, go there, go. But that doesn't mean that works for every kid in your youth organization or your middle school program. Sometimes kids need a smaller setting. Sometimes, and we got to consider an environment. We're telling these kids to transfer into situations where it might not meet them academically. It might not meet them socially. It's so many different dynamics than just telling a kid you got to go to a bigger school. Wonder if that big time prospect is not really socially, he doesn't want that social attention, or he needs a certain AP course, or he needs to be in a certain learning environment. So we're just going to tell him to recruit for football. So I definitely disagree with that.
All right, Coach Seidel, Kenneth, you guys want to add on that?
I've been on, it was before Coach Seidel got there, but I've been on J.M. Robinson's sideline when Coach Scott from UGA was on the sideline, and there were multiple other P5 coaches there, and they were a 2A school. I've also had kids who transferred away from me to go to that big 4A school, who later on college coaches told me, hey, Coach, if that kid would have stayed with you, he would have been a Division I player instead of a Division II player, because when he went to that bigger school in that tougher league, it showed exactly how much he could not break away. He didn't have that over-the-top kind of speed where at your level, he would have looked faster. So any coach that says that, I think, is serving self-interest somewhere down the road. I don't think it's real at all. I think it's bad advice, but unfortunately, I think a lot of parents buy into that bad advice, and a lot of parents move their kids around when they don't need to move their kids around.
Good answer. Coach Seidel, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, 100% agree. I think if you could play, you can play. It was one of the things you guys were talking about earlier. I think parents will move their kids around, even when they feel like, they changed his position at this school, and that's not where he needs to be recruited. And a lot of parents need to know this. Like, when they turn on the film on Huddle, they understand that the high school coach is putting you in a position for that team to be successful. And they'll look at your film. They're going to look at the first 2 to 4 minutes. They're going to look at the first couple of plays, and you need to stand out with effort, speed, whatever it's going to be. They're going to put you wherever they want to put you once you get to college. And a lot of parents will get upset going, well, you moved him from running back to linebacker. Now he's not going to get recruited. I've had more guys that have played quarterback for me get recruited, end up going to safety or defensive back when they get to the college level. They know what they want to do with you once they get to you. And parents need to understand that high school coaches are going to do what's best for the kids and the team in that season. How we're just trying to win games. It will never hurt your kid we recruit them when we move pieces. And a lot of times parents are going to move into another school just because they think that's happening, and I disagree with that.
Yeah, that's a real good point because I mean we see it all the time. A kid may be a star dual threat quarterback, and then he goes to college, he's a safety. It doesn't matter because the college is going to do what they want to do.
But Pep, that goes back to my comment about be a lazy recruiter, because if a coach can recruit like Marcus Graham, I had a kid that went to Stanford. He was our quarterback, but that coach was able to see him play defensive back. And remind you, he never took a snap at defensive back, ever. I didn't even have him doing defensive back drills in practice. And the Wisconsin reached out and was like, hey, we're going to recruit him as a defensive back. If you got talent and you've been in the game for years and you're not a lazy recruiter, you know how that translates to the next level.
Absolutely. Chris Hawk checking in. What's up, Chris? He says one reason people are discouraged because they got these big D1 dreams and still think a D2 is beneath them. Reality is starting to set in. Spot on. I think that perception of D2, D3 is beneath me. They need to let that go because you're gonna sit there and it's gonna be February, March next year, and you're a senior. You're gonna have nothing on the board, and then go ahead.
That's what happens. I'm so passionate about this because what happens is us as coaches, we might get that D3, D2 school that's reaching out throughout the summer. They're coming by, like looking at them in February, March of their going into their senior year as juniors, and we're telling them like, hey, this school is recruiting you, and everybody around them but us know what we're talking about. Like, hey, you still want to entertain these coaches. And so they got the D1 dreams all the way through their senior year and become around this time of January. Hey, coach, is that D2 school still looking at me? No, they moved on. They got limits too.
Yep.
So now you're out without any offers because you just didn't entertain those who entertained you.
Right. And one of the things that's shared on social media all the time that I like to see is go where you are wanted. That is the main thing right now, especially. If somebody's showing some interest in you, treat them with respect. Don't look down on them because you never know what's going to happen. Those PWOs like we were talking about earlier, we ain't going to see that no more. Not with these roster limits coming into play. Let's see. We got Tyjon Pringle, Coach Pringle, I'm sorry. Said coaches in North Carolina telling kids the same thing to recruit them away. Lost multiple kids this year from coaches saying only way you're going to get off is if you leave for a school. Wow. Okay. Well, that ain't good. But that's a whole nother conversation. That's a different kind of recruiting. Oh, man. Let's see here. We got a lot of comments flying in right here. Summer Blevins, she's got a D1 athlete. And she's talking about some experience that she's had. Parents being realistic, not giving their kids false hope. Going to school for free is the goal no matter what. An athlete wants to play on the next level, it's on them. Her son had 17 offers and only 13 were committable. That's a whole nother conversation. Committable offers. And I know, Coach Dub, you're passionate about that. Commit early and don't wait till the last minute. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot to break down right there. Let's talk about the committable offers, first of all. Is that something you guys have experienced with your players?
All the time. But the thing is, I don't like posting that stuff. I'll tell my kids. It depends on, like, in my time, I probably posted maybe 4 or 5 non-committable offers from my players. I'm going to use Marcus Graham back in the day. 5 years ago, he got an offer from East Carolina. And so Old Dominion was close to giving him a legitimate offer. And so we posted East Carolina offer. Old Dominion ended up offering him. So I was able to take that non-committable and flip it and market it. And eventually led to Wisconsin and Stanford. But depending on how you do it, and you don't, like, one thing I like to do, I like to sit down with my parents and talk to them like, this is a non-committable offer. Because as a high school coach, I got to keep it real with them. Like, hey, this is an offer that's even a camp invite, or they need to see more. They just kind of offering them this opportunity, but how can we use that to pull some of those schools that's really showing interest in?
Coach Seidel, how do you treat non-committable offers?
It's similar. Like when we tell a kid, when you get an offer, say the coach does come in the building and sits down and says, we're going to offer you. I tell the kid, you ask him on the spot, is this committable or not? I said, he starts hemming it on and it's not committable, you know? And I'll be honest, probably some kids don't want to ask that question because they want to post it, and I get it. And I understand that. I really do. And I've done what Coach Dub does. I've used other colleges where maybe it's not committable, but then I start hitting some other schools you're trying to stir it up. You're trying to generate stuff for your kid. You know, you're going to go to battle for your kid, but the kid needs to know what's committable, what's not. You know, and I've always told college coaches to just be straight up with our kids. And if you're not interested, just tell them you're not interested so our kid can move on. We can move on. Because the worst thing is when you see a kid get dragged on a little bit because they're trying maybe to figure out the portal, college, you know, they're looking at tons of kids and they kind of keep your kid on the line a little bit. And all of a sudden they pull the rug out at the end because maybe they filled that spot. And we're kind of, my opinion, I've always said, and I've said some stuff to college coaches, I feel like we're left there to pick the pieces up for the kid that just got his heart broken. So I'd rather the college coach be straight up. Hey, we're interested. We got 3 guys ahead of you on the board. We'll let you know. I'm okay with that. The kid knows where he stands. You were up front and honest with him, but don't give we want you, and at the end, we really didn't, you know. So we tell our kids, you get an offer, ask them on the spot, is it committable or not, and you'll know right away, you know.
Because Coach Seidel, it hurts the kids, and I've seen it before. Because even if I post, I mean, it was a local school, I won't say their name, they was throwing out a ton of offers, and what happens, it puts those kids in bad positions because the D2, the D3 schools that really are interested in recruiting them, they're scared. Like, we're not going to be able to beat this particular school out. So we're not even going to recruit the kid. It's so many times I've had coaches come by and say, hey, I didn't know we could get the kid. I'm like, who told you that? I mean, the kid is open to wherever he can go, but he has this offer and that offer. I said, recruit him.
Kenneth, why are colleges making non-committable offers anyway?
You know, I've asked that question myself a lot, Pep. You know, I think there are these non-committable offers, what you guys are talking about, but there are also these offers contingent that are being put out there. This is a scholarship offer contingent on the fact that this sophomore grows 2.5 more inches and puts on 25 pounds, or it's contingent on this player's GPA getting to this level, or it's contingent upon him running a certain 40-yard dash at a camp that he comes to on our campus. You know, and I've asked that. I don't know if it's college coaches that are trying to pad their resumes to get to the next level, if they're trying to get in with a school. I don't know. I've asked that many times. Why make that offer if it's not real? Coach Seidel talked about, hey, ask them, can I commit today? I'm ready. And if they say no, then it's probably not a committable offer. But, you know, one thing, and Coach Dub, you mentioned this as well, it's so important for us coaches to have, and Coach Powell talked about this, to have that relationship with these coaches. You know, the coaches who I've dealt with for years now, they know, hey, Coach, this offer is contingent upon these certain things happening. And sometimes it's grades. It used to be a test score. It used to be, you know, they grew another inch or whatever that case is. But we have to have those relationships with college coaches, and we have to be willing to have those hard and tough conversations, man. I mean, just going back to what I said a minute ago, where college coaches are come in and, Coach, we only want to see these kids. But, Coach, I've got some other kids I'd love to see. Well, Coach, I don't have time. And then I've got those other kids coming up to me, texting me later that day, like, Coach, did so-and-so really stop by the school today? Well, why didn't they come see me? Why didn't you pull me out of class? Well, because, buddy, they only wanted to see these other kids. It's hard, man. It's frustrating. It's confusing. Why they do it, I have no idea, man. I've asked. I haven't gotten good answers yet.
You guys know why they do uncommittable offers?
I'm gonna give you a story.
Twitter followers, because you retweet that, and now kids follow that college coach.
Okay.
College coaches are about the clout just as much as some high school coaches that I know.
Yeah. but
I saw them this year, a couple of them.
And Kenny, and I'm gonna give you a story. So this is a few years back. And we had a Power 4 at the time, Power 5 school come by campus, and it was actually one of my kids' favorite school. And he was like, "This is my dream school, coach. If they come in," so I'm in there doing what I do. And he's like, "We're not interested in the kid. He's undersized. He's not fast enough. We this is not a kid I want to recruit." So I give the kid the feedback. I tell the parents what he said. So a couple months later, come around to camp season, the kid sends me a screenshot on Twitter with the same coach invite this damn kid to camp. And I'm like, dude, you just killed me. Like, you just killed me. Now, what does that look like to my kid? Like, I didn't advocate for you. And I know I was in there advocating in because it was a really good kid. He was a really good kid. He was just a couple inches undersized. But I thought he could really, really play, and I thought he was a great prospect. But the coach told me he didn't feel like he was a good prospect, but you're still trying to get him to go to camp. So, because, a lot of that camp money for these college guys are vacation money.
Spending cash.
That's real talk. Guys, I want to ask you something. I know each of you probably has some kids that are, kind of really talented, but their recruiting is slow. What are you telling those kind of kids that are college level players, but they don't have anything on the board right now? What advice are you giving your players?
Be patient. I know a lot of times we'll have kids that's so frustrated with the recruiting process, it impacts their practice and their gameplay. And I always tell them, control your controllables, because while you're sitting here pouting that you're not getting the looks you want and the coaches aren't reaching out that you contact, it's affecting your gameplay, and that's going to farther hurt you because recruitment happens in cycles. And unfortunately for like social media, you see everything, right? So a kid might see, hey, this school just offered him, but it might not be. It's a process. Coaches want you to come to games. Coaches want you to come to camp. And definitely at the end of the year, because a lot of kids don't realize these coaches are still coaches. Their jobs are dependent on them winning ball games. So think about North Carolina right now. You get what I'm saying? Like, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. So it ain't that coach might not be ignoring you. They trying to win a ball game to keep their job, because if they don't win this game, they can't recruit you. So just have patience. Another thing I recommend with players is to build a good relationship with your head coach and your position coaches. I think kids could do a better job, and I got good kids to do this at my school, but just from what I hear out amongst high school football is you got to build that relationship with your high school coach. Go and ask your coach. Talk to your guidance counselors, like you said, with your transcripts, and make sure that your class is aligned with that particular school and how they'll transition. But build a relationship with your high school coach. We want to be challenged. I love when kids say, "Coach, can you send my film here? Coach, look, I just DM'd this college. You see this DM? Can you reach out for me?" Like, that's the stuff I will work for, because guess what? We're sending your film out. We're advocating for you. But the best advocate is you. And if you're getting out there on social media and you're busting your butt, you're in these college coaches' DM and you're hitting them up. I can't tell you how many college coaches say, "Hey, I talked to player X. He reached out. I think he's a good player. What is your thoughts?" That tugs at my heart, because now I know that kid did the work to get to college. And Pep, I always use DeTwan Patton as an example. He's at Presbyterian, but he's an example for me because he would come in my classroom, "Coach, man, did you send this out, Coach?" He would like literally get on me. And I'm like, "Yeah, I sent it out." And then sometimes I'm like, I forgot I was doing something that period. And he'll come back, "Coach, I need you to send this to this college." To the point where he had really he was bugging me so much. The college that he wanted to go to, which was Presbyterian, so happily was coming to the showcase. And I was just undercoached so much, and because he was on me. And he said, "Well, I'm going to evaluate the kid at the CFI showcase, and the rest is history." And the kid is a contributor. He'll potentially be a starter next year. He got a pick 6 in the game this year. But originally, Presbyterian didn't think much of it.
Coach Seidel, Kenneth, what are you guys telling your players in that kind of situation?
Go ahead, Coach.
Once again, to control your uncontrollable, or what you can control. How hard are you working out? Are you looking right now? You should be gaining weight. Coach Seidel still playing. My guys are not. You should be bulking right now. You should be getting bigger. You should be becoming more explosive. Coming to school, I had a college coach come by today. He was looking for a specific player. The specific player wasn't in school. Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I don't blame the kid for not being here. But, bro, where are you? Man, Coach so-and-so is looking for you. You're not in school. We talked last week. I told you, make sure you don't miss school between now and Christmas break. The other thing that I think is super important, and coaches, y'all tell me once again, man, I'm relearning things. But the majority of kids that I've had over the years who have earned Division II scholarships, those scholarship offers did not happen until after Christmas. That most D2 offers aren't happening in November when you see those big offers, the Penn States and the Carolinas and those types being offered. Most Division IIs are going to happen after those coaches spend a month on the road and they're in their hotel rooms and they're watching the film and they're sending the film to position coaches and coordinators. And then they're going back on a Monday or going back on a Friday and they have their staff meeting with the head coach. But all that stuff typically does not happen until after Christmas. And a lot of it doesn't happen until the second week of January or later. And with the new signing day, if that's what you want to call it, the new signing day, it's almost an infinite signing day now, right? Like there's no, this is the early signing period, this is the normal signing period. It's when it happens, it happens. And I think that we're going to see a lot more of those later scholarships happen when coaches see kind of who trickles down, the bounce backs that didn't happen or where they ended up, and then who left them. I mean, when Mac Brown gets let go today, I'm sure UNC's locker room is burning up hey, coach, what should I do? Phones right now. I imagine a lot of Tar Heels will be in the transfer portal after the game this weekend. There's so much stuff, man. Just be patient, but do what you can do and work as hard as you can work in the interim.
Absolutely. Coach Seidel, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, everybody said everything. We do a spring meeting every year with the parents and kind of go through the process from a freshman all the way to a senior. One of the biggest things, and I'll be honest, when I went to college, I played D3 ball up in New York, and I left after my second year because I was so focused on football. I didn't realize from my sophomore year, I was like, man, I don't like this school. Like, why did I choose this school? So I use my experience as look at a college if football didn't exist. That should be the first thing we do. And then go from there. Because what if maybe you like the football team, but if you really can't see yourself there, why are we looking at it? Just because they're recruiting you? Because I know most kids, they like the idea of being recruited. And so that's one of the biggest things we look at. Hey, what do you want to major in? What do you want to do in the future? Let's look all that. Where do you want to be? In-state, out-of-state? Narrow all that stuff down. And then let's go back to the schools that do have football in that, in those areas. And let's start making some calls and hopefully it works out. But being patient, I think, is one of the biggest things. I know with early signing, everybody wants to be on social media and sign and do. And I get it. I understand that. But you'll be amazed what does come out on the back end. But I think some kids that think they were going D1 or FCS, you're going D2 probably. It might be D3. And, man, there's some good D3 ball. And, the difference is just how you're going to handle it financially at that level. But it goes back to the GPA and the grades and all that. And the more you have your grades up, you could package this and package that. And every coach has been preaching that since we've been coaching about GPA, but now with the portal and now the new 105 rule and everything that's going to trickle down, it's just that much more important now.
Yeah, let's talk about, I'm glad you said the financial package, because that's something that I think a lot of parents and players don't understand. That's why we're saying grades are so important, because if you are able to get academic money, that's less athletic money they have to put towards you that they can get another player with. So that's why the grades are so important at the end of the day. It literally, the grades equal money at the end of the day. And if you are able to qualify fully academically somewhere, they're going to love you because it saves them money and they can go get someone else that may not have the grades that you have. Tamario Baldwin has this comment right here. It says, coaches have to stop trying to start a kid's recruitment at the D1 level. start getting evaluations from lower levels first and work your way up based on the feedback. You guys agree with that?
Coach Dub said this a minute ago, and I learned this, many years ago the hard way, that if I push a Division II kid onto a P5 school, that coach ain't never going to trust my opinion ever again. And he's never going to come back in the building ever again. So, and y'all tell me what y'all do. What I've done the last couple of years is I start at a lower level than I believe that kid can play. And I start putting fillers out there. Coach, tell me what you think about this kid. And if I get some feedback, well, then I know I'm pretty close. Or if I get a lot of feedback, then maybe this kid is a little bit higher up and I can go to the next level coach. But if I think if he's an FCS kid, I'm going to start at the D2 level and see what those coaches are telling me.
Yeah. And what I do, I send out a big, broad prospect list, and I let the coach do the choosing. Because you'd be surprised. Like, again, I've been using this kid name a lot, but Marcus Graham with Wisconsin. Like, they was coming to look at Gabe Stevens and Elijah Burris. And what happened was he was on a prospect list, and they said, we need XYZ. We need a defensive back. So what I do is I have a prospect sheet, like I know all y'all do. And I don't put any title, like these my D1 players, and I just send it to the coaches, let them do their job. And whoever they come back that they're interested in, that's the ones that I'll elaborate more and send more details about.
All right, excellent. Coach Seidel?
Same thing. I mean, I'm just saying the same thing they are. It's exactly what it is. I tell kids, what you put on your tape that's what it's going to be. Your first couple plays need to stand out. When I coached down at Columbia, there's a player, he's graduating out from college. I'll never forget this. He was a receiver, and we were on our own 1 yard round. We ran counter away from him. Our kid broke it 99 yards. The kid, I was trying to get the running back recruited to Louisville. They were looking at him. And he looked at our receiver that ran 99 diagonally to go block for him. And he goes, who's that kid?
Mm-hmm.
And they stopped recruiting the running back. He said, yeah, I don't think he's us. I think he's a little bit lower, but who's that kid? I'll give him a PWO right now. What's his GPA? And he was a 4.0. And boom, here we go. And he had 3 more D1s at that time come in and do the same thing. We're not going to scholarship you. We don't know you're a tweener, but because of your GPA and that effort, we'll take a chance on that, and I tell our kids, what you put on film, the effort, the speed, you can't hide that. You know what I mean? And that's what our kids, they need to understand. Those first 3 to 4 minutes and those first couple of plays, you got to stand out. And then they're going to come in and they're going to hit our coaches up. All right, what's the character of this kid? What's the parents of that? We've already touched that. That was the big thing you guys talked about earlier that I 100% agree. I've had more college coaches go, I'm going to recruit the parents as I recruit the kid. And if the parents are crazy, quote unquote, or just too vocal or too this, too that, I'm out. I'm not doing it, and it's amazing. I've had, I've been fortunate to have, just like these coaches, guys go on to play at high levels. And I've had a couple that called, hey man, your girlfriend, I want to talk to your girl. I want to know, like, they will call teachers, they'll call whoever they got to call because they're investing so much money into you and their jobs are on the line. I told the kids, like, it's the truth is going to come out. I'm not going to lie for you. I'm never going to cover for you. I'm going to stand up for you, but I'm always going to be honest about your effort, your character, what you're doing in school, out of school. And I think in the end, if you're truthful with your kids, it's going to work out.
I'm going to tell you.
Oh, go ahead, Coach.
I was going to add to that. So I had a situation where it was a coach that was really interested in one of our prospects. They was on a borderline of offering. Y'all know how that feel. They want to offer, and we're walking through the school, and they stop the janitor. They stop the janitor and say, "Hey, how's so-and-so?" And I'm turning around like, "What? What is he doing?" But they wanted to get everyone's opinion. They know in most cases we're going to speak highly of our kids, and we're gonna go in for our kids. We're going to support them and give them the best recommendation. But they want to also know how they're treating the janitor, how they're treating the cafeteria lady when they're going to get food. How do they treat their peers that doesn't play football? Are you mean to them? So it's so many different things that go into that. So I always tell kids, you gotta be who we say you are. If we're saying you're a great kid all around, great parents, great family, you got to literally be that. And some of these kids aren't, and then they catch themselves in an awkward situation. But also I want to add this to it. If you're going to these D2, D3 schools and getting packaged up, make sure you know your parents' financial situation. And it's easy to do. You could go to whatever school that's interested in you, or you could just go to a D2, D3 school and do a calculator. It's online. You can do a financial calculator, and you can go on it and put in your parents' financial information. And it's going to be a little tedious, but it'll tell you right where now it's not a guarantee, but it's a projection of what your contribution would be. And then whatever that is, look at that number, because you might be in a low, considered low income. And believe it or not, some middle classes is low income. It is what it is. But you might get full Pell. Like if you stay in state and you get full Pell, you're going to get something called North Carolina Need-Based Grant. That's just going to throw additional money on top of that Pell. So, and then if you got a high GPA, you got a 4.0 and you're a Pell student, a full Pell student, you're probably not going to pay anything. Mm-hmm. So you have to know your financial status, or your parents might be in middle class and it might make just enough not to qualify for full funds, which a lot of us in that situation, brother. Learn that, okay, what is that number? What is the funds that I got to pay? Now I can start seeking outside scholarships outside of that university. So I'm going to use, let's say, Bavard, for example. Well, Bavard is going to offer you a certain amount of scholarships when they give you your award package. If you need Pell, they're going to have all that up there. And then you're going to get a number. Okay, this is what you got to pay back. Now, start going out looking for grants. There's something called, I know the State Employees Credit Union has a grant. There's so many grants out here. Now you got to do your homework, and you got to grind and put together maybe a resume, put together personal statements, put together all this stuff, and apply for these grants. My daughter ended up running at UNC Asheville, and obviously I know track doesn't get full money, so it's the equivalent of like D2. Even though she ran D1 track, they only offered her a certain amount of money, and we were sitting there looking at maybe about $8,000 that come out of our pocket. Well, we applied for 40 scholarships, and out of all 40 of those scholarships she applied for, she got 5 of them, which with those 5 actually cover the rest of it. But we was hitting up, literally, and I'm a guidance counselor. I had gave all the scholarships that I knew about she had applied for, but I also literally just went into Google and Google high school scholarships. Mm-hmm. And you got to go through the mumble jumble, but there's some good stuff up there. So make sure you're doing your part and you're not looking for anyone to hold your hand. Go to your guidance counselor and say, hey, you know what? Money's going to be a factor for my family. I'm not being recruited Division I. I can't go to that Power 5 school that I always dreamed about. I'm going to have to settle in this D2 school. But the coaches can only pay, they can only give me $5,000 or $2,500, right? But my parents make too much. What is the opportunities out here that I can utilize that I can pay for college? There's too many resources out here for us just to say, well, we're paying for college. You could go for free being packaged up.
Well stated right there. And I think you just did what Chris Hawk was asking you to do right there. That's right on point. All right. This is only supposed to be an hour. So, last words. Any recruiting advice from you guys out there for players that are watching this or will watch this on the playback, just in general?
Yeah, I think last piece, when creating a highlight film.
Thank you.
Do it with your coach. Your coaches should have an idea of what college coaches are looking for. You know, I'll never forget, I had a kid that a quarterback, I worked for hours, it felt like, on his highlights, and I had him making deep throws. I had him running the football. I had him making 3rd and 4th read throws. I had him throwing screens. I had him throwing from different arm slots. And after I put it all together, I sent it to him. And a day later, he had redone the entire thing, and he had like 9 straight. He opened up with 9 straight fade routes. And I texted him. I said, "Bro, if you know more than I do, then I'll stop, and I'll let you do whatever you need to do, because you've just messed up your highlight reel." But I think it's important that the student athlete's parents, and the coaches work together. Coach Washington, Coach Seidel both talked about that with the meetings that they hold. But not only create their highlights, but to talk about what are realistic expectations are. Where does my child fit in? He's 5'8" and he's 220 pounds and he's a nose guard. He's probably not going to play at Western Carolina. So what are more realistic expectations for us, and then to go from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Coach Dub, any last words?
I said a lot, but I will I will reiterate, make sure that you're coachable. Make sure you are the student athlete that your coach says you are. Because a lot of times, I mean, it's hard when, because we're going to build relationships with these guys. And some of these guys we've had 10, 15-year relationships for. So make sure you are who your coach say you are. Make sure you're a great teammate. One of the biggest things is while you're being coached by us, your teammates, that's y'all experience. These are moments outside of just playing college football or high school football. Y'all going to be sharing these moments for the rest of your life, 30, 40 years from now. Y'all going to be able to be talking about those moments. Make sure you're a good teammate. Also, make sure you're handling your business in that classroom. That's number one. I can't tell you how many kids that I hear that you hear about, like, why that kid ain't getting recruited. And then they'll turn around when the coach must not be working for them. No, we're working, but the college coach said they don't got the GPA.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a lot of schools are test optional, but I would still tell y'all to take the test, the ACT, SAT. You never know. That might. I had a student, and it wasn't even a student athlete, where Auburn called me last week. The kid had submitted their SAT, and the ACT, and they had a crazy score. But she put down that she was test optional, and admissions called me and they said she is forfeiting $70,000 by not submitting this test score. So you never know, if you're in situations where you might have a real high test score, you might be able to get additional funding. So just be encouraged, work hard, be coachable, and y'all can do it. Don't be discouraged. There's a place out here for you if you work hard.
Thank you, Coach. Coach Seidel, any last words?
Piggyback off Coach Clamrock with the huddle film. Don't put music on your huddle film.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Or pictures.
Yes, no pictures, none of the words. Highlight yourself before the play starts, not after the play, so they got to rewind it. And then, I mean, honestly, everybody's talked about everything. Go enjoy high school ball, man. It goes fast. So many kids play high school sports to get recruited, or they think they get to get recruited, and it's over with, man. You don't know how college is going to shake out. You know, I'll be honest, out of every 10 kids I've had go play college ball, probably 6 of them end up at some point stopping before they graduate. They just kind of burn out. It's, you know, college is a different level. I don't care what, you know, D3, JUCO, NIA, or D1. It's crazy, man, the stuff they got to go through. And so I want high school kids, man, go enjoy high school ball. Enjoy playing with the teammates, like Coach Dub said. And it goes fast, man. And as long as you're doing everything right, your character's good, your GPA, you're doing everything. Just like I said, there's a place for you if you really want to go play and let the chips fall as they may, man. But enjoy it, because it's going to fly by.
Well said. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And everyone watching this, if you watch it live or on the playback, thank you for watching. Please share this information, because that's the one thing that we got to do out here, is share this kind of information, because there's a lot of people that don't know. They just don't know. Players, parents, and even some coaches, to be honest with you. They just don't know the ins and outs. Also want to thank Otis Powell from Livingstone for joining us earlier in the show. If you're joining us late, go back and watch that. He said some great things as well from a college coaching perspective about high school recruiting. So last thing, please make sure you sign up for the Winter Showcase December 7th, next Saturday at Rocky River High School. 11 colleges are confirmed, and we're working to get more in person there. Seniors, juniors, and sophomores. We're adding sophomores to the showcase. So please make sure that you go to CharlotteFootballInsiders.com, click on the Winter Showcase right there on the homepage, and sign up. If you got any questions, feel free to shoot myself or Coach McClamrock a DM. Okay. Everybody have a good night. Thanks for watching.